Welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show, and excited to be joined here on a Thursday by our guy, Mr. Ben Scott Stevens, coming off of an unbelievable weekend. We now have another huge weekend. And before we kind of look ahead, Ben, I wanted to look back because last weekend I thought was kind of one of the first inflection points where you see some of these teams grabbing a second loss, maybe getting their first loss with a very difficult schedule, which is going to kind of put them behind the eight ball, either within the conference or just in their quest to possibly win or make the college football playoff. Of all of the things that we saw last weekend, what was the thing that was the result? And that could even be because the game was close, because it was not close, upset, whatever. What was the thing that surprised you the most?
Yeah, I think, Bobby, when you look around the country, what surprises the most is some of the undefeated teams that go down and how we often take for granted in college football, based on the long history of this sport, that if you are no longer unbeaten by the time week 7, week 8, week 9 comes around, you can basically kiss away any of your national championship or college football playoff aspirations. What I think is starting to trickle into the mind of college football fans and really needs to start becoming more of a reality is the days of cakewalking to 11-1 or even 12-0 are done. That 9-3 for most teams might not be a college football playoff berth, depending on what happens across the country, but 9-3 is still a really, really good season. That is our reality now in college football, but it has been so different from the last half century, where if you were not undefeated, magazine writers were not going to vote you as the national champion. If you were not undefeated, or God forbid, at absolute most, had a single loss on the resume, you weren't getting close to the BCS national championship game or the 4-team format of our college football playoff. It is very different now. Where a loss at some point of a season, we often look at the AP top 25, which is a sham, or we look at these teams just in general, and we say to ourselves, see, they kind of stink. They don't stink just based on one loss. It is a much longer season with everything we know now in college football. So to me, Bobby, we had 11 teams enter week 8 undefeated. 1 had a bye in the Naval Academy. 5 went down. Those 5 teams aren't just overrated or this is what we expected them to be. They had one bad weekend, maybe one bad game, but they can always bounce back.
Speaking of that, bouncing back, give me a team that you learned the most about from last weekend, Ben.
I think it was Notre Dame, Schlegs. And I also learned a lot about USC conversely. But I really think this Notre Dame team is on a track to do exactly what it did a season ago when they lost to Northern Illinois inexplicably. And then the rest of the way for the Irish, they were hammering teams. They were scoring a ton of points, and the defense was starting to get sharp. My concern for the Irish in their first 2 losses against Miami and Texas A&M, now 2 of the top 5 teams, or Miami did lose this past week to Louisville. But I think when you look at what Notre Dame has done, offensively with Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price, probably the best 1-2 combo in all of college football in a running back room. CJ Carr continues to take those steps. An ugly interception at the end of the opening half against SC, but that was one of the first true mistakes we have seen for the first-year starter. But it's been on the defensive side of the football for Chris Ash. Even in the game against Purdue that the Irish won 56-30, they were getting run over and allowing a ton of chunk yardage. That Notre Dame defense is starting to find it. Yes, last week, Jaden Mayava, Mekhi Levin, Jacoby Lane, they had their big plays. But I thought what Notre Dame did physically, where USC was so great against Michigan just the week prior at home, what Notre Dame did physically on both sides of the football, this Irish team is legit. I think they get to 10 wins. I think a 10-2 Notre Dame earns a college football playoff spot. And I think if they are playing that well at that most important time of the year, Schlegs, Notre Dame is certainly in contention for a national championship run once again.
So want to look out, I guess, to the evening slate, and we'll start with this because I think this is probably the biggest game, at least that I've ascertained in the weekend. One team potentially trying to go win the SEC, another team really fighting for their life, and maybe their coach fighting for their job.
Yeah.
When you start talking about A&M heading into LSU, LSU got beat by Vandy last week, Ben, and there was at no point watching that game that I felt like LSU looked like the better team.
Yeah.
And now they've got Texas A&M, who everybody's wondered. They're 7-0, like you said, they're undefeated. People have questions, how good are they? Who have you beaten? This would be a fairly signature win down there in Death Valley, 7:30 a.m. A&M just a slight road favorite with the home dog being LSU. Kind of your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Bobby, I think also to your point of last weekend, what did we learn? We are learning that teams that are off to a historic start for their program are legitimate in this new era. Of course, Texas A&M has been a really good football program in times past, but Mike Elko has his Aggies at 7-0, undefeated, this best of a start for a season since 1979. A&M has been a really powerful offense this year. The wide receiver transfers that are there now in College Station, Mario Craver, who is one of the best in the SEC and the country, and Casey Concepcion have been as good as advertised. And Marcel Reed is playing wonderful quarterbacking in this second full year now as the starter for this A&M offense. Defensively, I have some concern for the Aggies, but how could you not with all they lost up front? And we saw Notre Dame have their way against Texas A&M. We saw the Aggies in their first two games of the year get run all over by UTSA and Utah State, and then start to find their way back to more solidified Mike Elko defense. Well, that's the question in this game. A&M's defense has been their weakness. By far the weakness for LSU is a putrid offense. An LSU team that is averaging 20 points per game in their 5 games against power conference competition. An LSU team, despite being awful offensively last week in Nashville, put up their season high against those 5P4 foes in 24 points. Garrett Nussmeier has regressed. They cannot run the football once again for this LSU team, and some of that physicality up front along the offensive line has vanished for the Bayou Bengals in losing their 2 stud tackles from a season ago. Bobby, that's the key. I look at this game, a night game in Tiger Stadium in Death Valley, one of the best environments in all of college football. Under Brian Kelly, who became the head coach in Baton Rouge in 2022, LSU is 20-1. Straight up in night home games. Since the start of this millennium in 2000, LSU is 116-16. But the caveat to some of those numbers, the one loss for the Bayou Bengals came the last time they were booked as a home underdog in a night game last year against Alabama. They lost 42-13 in a game that was not competitive. And of those 16 losses in night home games in Death Valley since the start of the 2000 college football season, half of the 16 have come against top 10 foes. And Texas A&M is the number 3 team in the nation. Now, I'm going to say this, and please do not clip it and put it out to social media just in case. I'm picking LSU to win this football game. Will I put my own American money on it? I'm not entirely sure. I think LSU plays spoiler and does just enough offensively to win in a low-scoring game in Baton Rouge.
Man, that's a lot of juice right there, Ben. And we promise that Pat won't clip that.
Thank you, Pat.
I want to ask you. I want to ask you about this one because you got 2 teams coming off a loss: Ole Miss to Georgia, Oklahoma to Texas. Now they're going, and this is the one where we want to see Mateer come back, like get back for this particular game.
Yeah.
How do you see this unfolding with OU being favored at home?
Yeah, we're seeing the line, Schlegs, also work to Oklahoma 4.5 early in the week, now touching 5 in many spots. Again, much like what we discussed from what we learned last weekend, it could have been the same story in week 7 of this college football season. John Mateer, with a half-functioning right thumb on his throwing hand, played terribly against Texas. But what did OU do really well against the Longhorns? Defensively, they did not give up a ton. What did OU do poorly against Texas? Turn the football over and not really help their injured quarterback in establishing the run. 30 carries as a team against the Longhorns, who are still really good defensively, for a total of 48 yards. What did Oklahoma figure out last week in Williams-Brice against South Carolina in what many thought was a sleepy spot for the Sooners? They ran the football. Torrey Blaylock was fantastic. John Mateer took care of it. In the dog pound up front for Oklahoma along that defensive side, I have told you guys so many times, the reason that I was buying stock into Oklahoma was not just Mateer and Arbuckle now in Norman, but because of how good the defense was when you dove deep into the numbers from a season ago, and we are seeing that carry over. If it wasn't for Ohio State, who is having one of the best defensive seasons in the last 3 decades in college football, Oklahoma would be right there. And Oklahoma is right there. OU, I think, can contain Trinidad Chambliss, unlike the way Georgia was able to, allowing a ton of chunk yardage through the air. I really lean with the Sooners winning this game in what begins a brutal stretch for Oklahoma to finish out the season. Where, again, if Oklahoma drops the game, for instance, on the road in Tuscaloosa, they're not a bad team. It's the reality of college football. I do not think Oklahoma drops this game against Ole Miss on Saturday.
More big games to get to, more college football previewing to get to, but now a quick message from our friends over at FanDuel. FanDuel, they've got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers, you can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Take a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel, they've got you covered. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. More big games to preview with our guy Ben Scott Stevens up after this.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
Welcome back in to the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got Anthony Schlegel. We got our guy Ben Scott Stevens, still previewing some of the biggest games from around the country. A handful. This is another kind of delineating game, and it seems like one of these teams will make the playoff, and this game is going to go a long way, Ben, in determining who gets it done. Nash, Vegas, Tennessee, 3:30 Eastern time. Missouri, Vanderbilt, Tigers, Commodores. I don't think anybody thought these two teams would be stacked up there near the top of the SEC standings. Vanderbilt, a slight home favorite, and actually looked like they had somewhat of a home field advantage against LSU for the first time in probably the last 50 years.
Yeah, Bobby, it is incredible to see what Clark Lee and Diego Pavia have done in Nashville. Last week was the first time in 78 games for Vandy against the top 10 team in the SEC, booked as the favorite. How about now 2 consecutive weeks against a top 15 conference foe, booked as a favorite. Missouri last week in double overtime in the Battle of the Tigers against Auburn did just enough, and Auburn continues to flail on the offensive side of the ball. The key in this game is establishing the run and running the dang ball, because both of these teams do it better than most in the SEC, 2 of the top 3 rushing offenses in that league, and honestly better than most around the country. Both teams statistically pretty good at stopping the run as well. Mizzou only allowing 2.89 yards per carry. Vandy a little bit behind, but still top 30 in the country, 3.38 yards per pop. The key for Vanderbilt football, as it will always be as long as he is playing the quarterback position, is number 2. That's Diego Pavia. In the games against power conference competition this year for Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia has thrown for fewer than 200 yards, but has also ran the football at least 11 times. In the last few weeks, we have seen that be prolific for Vanderbilt. Even in the loss against Alabama, the Doors put up more than 7 yards per pop. Ahmad Hardy, who looked like a Heisman frontrunner for Mizzou offensively, has slowed down. Bo Prabula has started turning the football over a little bit more at the quarterback spot. I lean with Vandy again. I don't think what we are seeing is flash in the pan type stuff. I believe it is the embodiment of what Clark Lee has meant for this program and what Diego Pavia has done at the quarterback position. An absolute gamer. I think it's close. I think Vanderbilt wins a second consecutive close game in Nashville against a top 15 SEC foe.
All right, I'm going to give you a quick one. I'm letting you choose. USF Memphis, 6-1, really good one, but also BYU at Iowa State favored. Pick it.
I'll give you 2 angles on both of these games. Of course, the USF Memphis game loses a little bit of luster after Memphis loses the UAB and interim head coach Alex Mortensen last week in that matchup in Birmingham, but still a really good team. The reason the line is 4.5 in favor of the Bulls on the road is not just because they are ranked, not just because they are the front runners to win the American and probably represent the group of 5 in the college football playoff. It's also the injury status of veteran QB for Memphis in Brendan Lewis, who was injured in the game last week against the Blazers, and the offense really stalled out at times for those Tigers. If he is out there alongside Sutton Smith, one of the best ground attacks in the country, but what Byron Brown is doing right now for Alex Kolish's offense, at least 350 total yards and 4 total touchdowns in 3 consecutive games at the quarterback spot for the Bulls, he is lights out. Schlegs, the thing that stands out to me about the matchup in Ames in Jack Trice is an Iowa State team that started 5-0 and now has lost 2 straight, but both of those games on the road. Cyclones defense allowing a ton of yardage to both Colorado and especially on the ground against Cincinnati. That is going to be the biggest thing for them in this game against the dynamic backfield of quarterback Bear Bachmeier and his running mate in LJ Martin. Can they contain the run? This is yet another example of a second consecutive year. The Cougs have started 7-0 under Kalani Sitake. It's the first time in program history BYU is 7-0 to begin a college football season in 2 consecutive years. Last year in Game 8, on the road against the UCF team that's not nearly as good as Iowa State, BYU was a 3-point road underdog. They won that game outright. The odds makers are hesitant to back BYU. They're a 2.5-point road underdog here in Ames inside Jack Trice on Saturday afternoon. I think Iowa State figures it out defensively to win this game and hand BYU its first loss of the year. But if the Cougs go down, that will be not a statement that, oh, they were a flash in the pan, they were overrated, this is exactly what we can expect of them. No, BYU will be in that Big 12 title race. The key for Iowa State is on the ground. I'm not entirely sure who wins it because the odds makers have been overlooking the Cougars in quite some time.
All right, last one here for you, Ben. Staying in the Big Ten, going out west. I know we've got the 2 time zone rule. And this team benefited from this once. Illinois heading to Washington. Washington favored by about 4.5, 5. Illinois took advantage of USC coming east. We watched Michigan struggle going west. I mean, really outside of Ohio State and Indiana, and then UCLA coming back east against Michigan State. It's been the traveling team has struggled. How do we feel about this one for the Illini and Huskies?
Yeah, the traveling team has struggled, and the traveling teams often do struggle. Again, outside of Ohio State in Seattle in Husky Stadium, it is one of the best home field environments in all of college football. I think it's a tough matchup for Illinois. The benefit in terms of the logistics of this Big Ten battle really are that Illinois is coming off a bye. Not a super quick turnaround, of course, like many have seen when you have had to travel across country, across time zones. Illinois is prepared and ready. And I hope the bye allowed some of the defensive issues for Illinois to be figured out, because if they are not, Damon Williams is going to take advantage of an Illini defense that has been masked some of their issues by the turnovers they have caused. But they lost that turnover battle to Ohio State by 3. Ohio State converted all 3 of those turnovers in touchdowns. If Illinois cannot create chaos for Damon Williams, Jonah Coleman, and that Huskies offense, they are in for a long day because of how good that Washington offense can be and some of the issues for the Illini defense this year. I think this game is close. I would not be surprised to see Illinois pull off yet another outright upset under Brett Bielema. 13 outright wins as an underdog since he took the reins in Champaign 5 years ago. One of the most among power conference programs in the country in that span. But the key for the Illini, can they contain a lethal Washington offense? Very difficult to do in Seattle.
Unbelievable, Ben. We appreciate your time. Hopefully another great college football weekend. The Buckeyes are off, which is nice because then I get to sit around and just watch the rest of the games and enjoy them. And we'll look forward to talking to you again next week as we start to flip the calendar to November.
Oof. Bobby, I appreciate it as always. Schlegs, same to you, my man. Enjoy the weekend. Talk next week.
Appreciate it. Our guy, Ben Scott Stevens, does a great job. Go check him out on Twitter, Ben Scott Stevens. Oh, my goodness. All right. Want to tell
you about drinking through a fire hose.
It really is. There's so much information there. You're overwhelmed. You're overloaded. You can watch it as many times as you want. Listen, you can also take care of yourself with our friends at Export. Protect what matters most with Export mouth guards, trusted by professional athletes, designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouth guards, they're scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouth guards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. They 3D print that bad boy right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. So you can focus on your game, not your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby today. Save 15% on your order. Protect your kids like me and Schlegs protect ours. They wear them. Export, protect what matters most. We're going to dive into some more of these games here and a big weekend of college football coming up.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And Schlegs, as we kind of look at this, I always like to take a peek and see like which game could have the biggest impact. We're going to bring this back home to the Big Ten race. Ohio State is on.
Yep.
All right, so they're not playing. Indiana is playing UCLA. Now, UCLA is 3-1 in conference. They are on a heater. They are looking good, but they're also 4 touchdown dogs heading to Bloomington. I don't think they've got the magic against Kurt Signetti this weekend. So we can eliminate that, but I'm trying to figure out which of the other games, assuming like, let's say that Ohio State or Indiana, they slip up and there is a chink in the armor, a crack for someone else to slide in there. You know, the 2 games or maybe even games for just the CFP race. We talked about that Illinois-Washington game. I think that that's going to be very pertinent. I really think this Northwestern-Nebraska game, which I would not have guessed early in season, which would have had much ado about anything, but Northwestern also 3-1 in the Big Ten after beating UCLA and Penn State. So you feel pretty good about that. Nebraska losing a tough one last week, Schlegs. They're sitting there at 2-2 in the conference, 5-2 overall as well. I feel like Nebraska has a much greater potential to maybe do something, possibly becoming that 4th Big Ten team in the CFP. Illinois, I know, is trying to stake their claim to it, but they've got USC next week, then UCLA, Penn State, and Iowa. Like, they've got a manageable schedule should they be able to get some momentum and get some wins. Unfortunately, they lost a one last week where they melted in the second half against Minnesota. But I think Matt Rule, if you're Nebraska, you want him to win. The more he wins, I think the better chance you have of keeping him versus leaving to go to his alma mater.
Yeah, there's so many in there, Bob. Like the Northwestern one, looking at what they have remaining, USC, Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, how they're kind of looking. That Minnesota-Iowa one matters because I think both of them are 5-2. We got people in the chat picking Minnesota on the road in Kinnick Stadium. That's a hard place to play. There's just – the thing is, the reason why these are all interesting is because there is Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, and then who is that next one? And that's what everybody's trying to figure out. Is it Minnesota? Is it Iowa? Is it Northwestern? Is it Nebraska? Is it Michigan? Is it Illinois? Is it Washington? Like, that's the mix. And that's why all these games matter and why you were focusing on that Illinois going out to Washington. There's a lot of meat on that bone to where they can all go moving forward.
So Michigan State, I mean, that's the big in the battle for the
rivalry.
The rivalry, like that was a game that used to be big, but Michigan struggling a little bit after they got beat up pretty bad by USC. This gets them back maybe into the conversation where I think there's still a world where they could potentially challenge, and they've got the big brand recognition. And can you get your freshman quarterback in Bryce Underwood to continue to improve? In Michigan State, they've been very disappointing. They were 3-0 in the non-conference. I felt like, hey, it's a Michigan State team that could maybe go 8-4, and put some things together. And they're sitting here at 0-4 in the Big Ten. They just got beat by UCLA, and they're struggling mightily. And so that game has lost a lot of the steam that I think we were hoping that it would have had they been able to take care of their business. And heck, at least if they were 2-2 in conference, they'd be sitting there at 5-2 right now.
Well, if you look at what Michigan has remaining, Bob, they got Michigan State. Why that's important? It's a rivalry game. Who knows? It's at Michigan State, but then you got Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, who's 1-3 in the conference right now, and then the game. So theoretically, they went out there. What are they? They could be 9-2 going into the game, right? And then you look at SC. You got Nebraska, you got Northwestern, Iowa, then you got Oregon and UCLA. Where do they fit in that mix? And that's why all these things are matter. But they all control their own destiny, but they got to go win and execute, and they can't be inconsistent. And that's the thing. It's like Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, really consistent. And then who is that fourth question mark? And there's been inconsistencies throughout. Hey, Michigan goes out to the West Coast and gets manhandled, and then they come back and then they win. Like, who's the consistent one that is the fourth?
Of all the games, like since Ohio State isn't playing this weekend, of all the games this weekend, is there one game that you are going to be intrigued by the most?
I'm looking at them. I'll tell you this, because of the coaching carousel that has transpired, I'm going to go with the A&M LSU game. And it's not that that's my favorite game to watch, but like because of everything that's going on with this, can Brian Kelly win the game at home versus A&M?
Yeah, it may be for his job.
It's unfortunate that we're talking. Well, it's not unfortunate. It is the reality of the situation that we're in, because you're going to have like this market of big name guys, and what do teams want to do? They want to rinse and repeat and recycle and move from big program to big program, or do they want to have consistency there? And we just got to get better. And
absolutely,
that's why that game has some interest to me.
Absolutely. All right. I want to tell you about our friends at Backer. Brand new gear, bckr.com. Go check them out. They've got all the elite features, the rain, the wind, the cold, and you're going to need that now, as I've been telling you here for weeks. I've got it all. Wore the rain a couple of weeks ago. It is tremendous. It's fantastic. It has all the features. It looks good. It feels even better on you, like skiing, golfing, hunting, fishing. It's got the elite stuff that you're looking for. bckr.com for all your college needs. Go check them out. Free shipping right now available. Thank you for watching the Bobby Carpenter Show. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer flavored beer. All right, welcome back into Bobby Carpenter's Show. We've got our headlines brought to you by our friends over at Lake Spur Marketing, Schlegs. Lake Spur Marketing, they're the marketing firm that prides themselves on delivering powerful and positive results. They're full transparency agency that's going to be with you every single step of the way. Their constant communication with their clients at Lake Spur. There isn't a set it and forget it strategy. No, they customize their tactics to fit your needs and the needs within the industry. Trust the experts. Trust Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in their partners. Visit them at lakespurmarketing.com today. All right, Schlegs, in our headlines on Thursday, it's our headlines today. It is lift it or leave it.
Ooh, juicy one.
All right, we talked just a little bit about this, but I think it's good to dive back into it.
You know how good I am at swimming, Bob. The world's greatest.
Modify the question a little bit from how we had it. So Oregon, Indiana, and Ohio State are the top three teams in the Big Ten, the clear top three, the tier. Who is the fourth team that could potentially make the playoff this year in the Big Ten? Illinois, Michigan, USC? You pick, lift it or leave it.
I have to pick. You give me Illinois, Michigan, USC.
You can have any team, but those are Illinois is ranked 23rd, Michigan's ranked 25th. USC is not ranked. They only have one loss in the Big Ten. They lost by Illinois by 2 on the road. They just smoked Michigan. Before their second loss, they just had obviously was to Notre Dame.
So here to me is the question: does a 9-3, and I'm talking about like I'm viewing this as who gets into the playoff?
Yeah.
USC, Illinois, Notre Dame losses, 2 ranked losses. Oregon could be the third, no wins versus anybody that's ranked.
Let's just say now, out of what you've seen out of the other 3 teams, because I think that those are the next 3. I don't know if you can really, maybe you could toss Nebraska in there if you want to throw them in. But what you've seen, scheduling, like forget about scheduling moving forward.
Let me forget it.
How they played. Who do you think is the best?
Buddy, here's the deal. They've been all so inconsistent.
Okay. You got
it's hard. It's hard to pick uno. I'm going to go with.
You have to put the vast Schlegel estate and fortune on one.
All right. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that it's going to be Illinois, and it all is predicated upon this weekend because then they go Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern. They have a veteran quarterback. They play really good defense. They would have 2 losses and be 10-2 at the end of the season and go. That's why I'll pick Illinois with that.
Okay, I don't necessarily hate that. Able to run
the
ball pretty good.
Who do you? USC. Yep.
You've got a veteran quarterback. They play pretty good defense. They lost to Ohio State, and then who was their other?
Indiana.
They got smoked by Indiana. And I mean, that's kind of, I forgot the 2. So they played the 2 best teams in the Big Ten, lost to them. They played one of the other teams that's in that conversation with them in USC and beat them. Now USC had to come to them. I'm inclined to say USC, but after watching them play Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame's really good. I think that they're very underrated, Schlegs. People are still holding those 2 losses against them early in the season. I get it. They're 2 teams that are both ranked in the top 10. One is undefeated, and they played very competitive games. That defense has gotten a lot better. So I shouldn't hold that against USC nearly as much. Plus, it was in Notre Dame. Now, they did lose by 10, and Marcus covered the spread. Good coaches win. Great coaches cover. I am going to say Illinois as well because I think that they have the veteran quarterback. Their defense, I think, is decent. Their receivers are pretty good. They run the ball okay. I know Bielema would probably like to run it a little better. I think UST is the second best team in that mix. I think Michigan is the third. And USC beat Michigan. They lost to Illinois. We'll see how some of these other things shake out as we move forward, Schlegs. Next question, lift it or leave it. Alabama and Texas A&M are a cut above the rest of the SEC. Bama has 1 loss. It is in non-conference. The Florida State, Texas A&M, undefeated. Both undefeated in conference. Lift it or leave it.
I'm going to, oh my goodness, bro. It all is predicated. I mean, I would say Alabama is because of the wins that they've had and how they looked from that start. And again, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And they seem to be on the right trajectory, which also goes into the fact like how chaotic is the world of college football when that guy was going to be fired after that loss to Florida State. I think they are. I think there's some, I don't know. This Vandy one versus Missouri will be an interesting one this week that could get them into the mix and how A&M looks.
Vandy lost to Alabama.
Well, I know, but I mean,
Tuscaloosa.
I know you're saying, I mean, like you gave me 2 teams that are a cut above. I'm saying who could be the other one, and that could be potentially Vandy, how they look.
If there's someone else that you think is on par with those teams, Schlegs, that's the question.
I would say the answer would be Georgia. They've been consistent.
Georgia lost to Alabama.
I know they did, but still, in the entirety, they're the ones that you think can go in and win officially. That's why right now it's kind of Alabama, A&M, Georgia, and then Vandy, and then there's a lot of others.
I would say no, because for me, Oklahoma has 1 loss. Yep. Their 1 loss came in Red River. It was a rivalry game, and they had a 1-thumbed Mateer.
Yep.
He didn't have the other opposable thumb slice. He couldn't have a thumb war with you very well. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4. He
grabbed that burrito.
Yeah, he got smoked in a thumb war. So I think I'm going to put Oklahoma in that conversation.
I agree with that.
Their defense, as our guy Ben Scott Stevens talked about, is legendary, if not this season, if not for the fact that Ohio State's was even better. They've got the quarterback. He's a veteran player. He's experienced. He checks all of the boxes that you're looking for. And so I love to see that there with him. So I'm going to say Oklahoma is in that. So I'm going to leave that because I think Oklahoma is in that mix too, despite the fact that they have that one conference loss, because this is why we have the committee. The committee can look at that and say they've played great. Oh, they lost to Texas. Rivalry game. Got it. Oh, by the way, your quarterback was coming off 3 weeks ago having his thumb cut open. Now you guys just beat South Carolina, I believe.
They did. Yeah, they did.
So
they did.
We'll see if you guys can, if they can rack up another win against Ole Miss here Saturday. Like that's a big deal. So I'm going to say they're in that conversation, especially if they beat Ole Miss, then they're going to be in it bigly.
And that's another job that could be open in South Carolina that we keep talking.
Oh, yeah. They talked about Shane Beamer possibly being up for other jobs. Well, he may be out of his job should he not get some wins. Number 3, Vanderbilt is one of the 10 best teams in the country. They're currently ranked 10th in the AP poll.
Bob, here's my thing, and I'm with Ben on this. I think that Vandy is for real.
I mean, listen, the hush falls over the crowd.
No, I'm just looking at the top 10 teams.
Yeah.
And like there's so many that could be in that.
They're 11th or 12th team. Do you think BYU, do you think Notre Dame is better than Vanderbilt?
That's why you play the game, man.
It is why you play the game.
Because
Oklahoma and Notre Dame are 2 teams that I would say are potentially better than Vanderbilt. Now, Missouri's behind them, and you could throw them in the mix. The good news is, you're going to find out they play each other.
Yeah,
on Saturday. So that's the best part of it is they play each other. We will find out 10 versus 15. Vandy is a slight favorite, I think, in that at 2.5 presently on the board at times.
Hey, I'm going to take this. Is Georgia Tech? Granted, they're 7-0.
That's what I'm saying. Is Vanderbilt better than Georgia Tech? I think Vanderbilt is better than Georgia Tech. I love what they're doing down there. I love Brent Key. Haynes King is a beast. He does a lot of what Diego Pavia does, but I think Diego Pavia is better than him. And I don't think that Georgia Tech defense is near as good as that Vanderbilt defense. So I would say that you could bump Vanderbilt up. I know that they've got 1 loss and Georgia Tech's undefeated, but my goodness, not all wins and losses and schedules are created equal.
So what you're saying is right now, like the top 6, like we've seen bodies of work. So Oregon, Georgia, Alabama, even the Oregon one, right? Like where are they right now?
Yeah.
Because you beat Penn State in a whiteout, but how has Penn State looked? And then you got beat by Indiana at home. But that's kind of like your top 6. And then you got Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Miami, Vandy, BYU, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, even Texas Tech, Missouri, Virginia, exclude Tennessee. So that's 16-7, Bob, right there. Just looking at it, like there's a lot of uncertainty there. But then Notre Dame's sitting there at 5-2. Yeah, 2 loss-ranked teams that are in the top 10, but they're running they run the football. They're physical. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I totally get it. So you said lift it or leave it. We've been on the same page of all. I am going to lift that they are.
Well, lift it up. I appreciate Schlegs. That'll be our last lift it or leave it for today. We got our tailgate talk coming up next where we answer your questions. And there's a big Buckeye birthday out there that I want to throw out to one of our favorite guys who's currently now in the NFL. Phenomenal human being. We'll talk about that here next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, now it's time for our tailgate talk. We answer your questions. Before we get to that, though, big Buckeye birthday, Pat. If you want to throw it up on the screen, our guy, 2nd round draft pick, former running back for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Our guy Travion Henderson Schlegs, a big happy birthday to him. I'm guessing he's 23, maybe, possibly 22. To throw it up there to him, that is very exciting. We can celebrate that. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Little love from the Buckeye Cruise there, but he's one of my favorites. And watching the metamorphosis that he went under Schlegs, not only as a football player, but as a man, to become a man of faith who is a great teammate, who has been humbled, who is just a guy you want to be around and a great role model and example. So, you know what? Tip the cap to my man, Mr. Travion Henderson, for everything that he has done. And hopefully they start utilizing him a little bit more up in New England. All right. So you got a good question from Emily, or comment rather. Emily from GoBucks79. An away game, then a bye week. Ohio State's on the bye week. This should be illegal. Bobby, please fix it going forward. The general. If you look at the games this year in the month of October, they played Minnesota at home, but that's kind of been it. I mean, you have some away games, bye week, and then come back. Heck, Penn State you had Washington, I think, after they played Ohio University. So there was not a lot of time to be in the shoe for the Buckeyes the month of October.
Yep.
Because they right after Ohio University had a bye week too, I believe, before they went to Washington, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, they did.
Yeah. So bye week, away game, home game, bye week, or another away game, bye week, and then you get to Penn State. So it's supposed to be huge, not quite as much. So a little bit tougher.
Still think it's going to be a good game, though.
Yeah.
But here, I got another one for you. Here, this is inquiring minds want to know.
Okay,
Bob. This is from at Anthony Schlegel 1773. I want you to pick these games.
Asking your own questions in there, Schlegel?
Yeah, I did. I just put it out because I put it out to everybody, and I want to hear your take. Just real quick, rattle them off. UCLA, Indiana. Who do you got?
Oh gosh, I have Indiana, dude.
Okay, good. All right, easy one. Illinois, Washington.
I think Washington at home. Like, I know I picked Illinois as the next best team. It's just the East to West thing has been brutal, and the West to East, like the time zones. I'm going to say Washington right now, but I think that I don't feel convicted on that.
Okay, how about Michigan State rivalry game?
I think Michigan State has not been good this year.
They have not. How about Northwestern at Nebraska? Both 5-2.
I think Nebraska gets back on the winning track. I think they take care of business. I would be surprised. They're better. They have better players than
and it's at home. Now here's the real one. This is where everybody gets in the deal. Okay, Minnesota at Iowa.
I'm going to give it to the Hawkeyes because it's at home. That game I would say is a push. Yep. I haven't even looked at the spread. Did you get a chance to see it?
Yeah, I think it's Iowa at home, I believe.
Minus, but do you know what the number is?
I think it's minus. I think it's minus 2.5.
Okay, so usually give 2.5 to 3 to the home team. So on a neutral field, they're even, and so that plays right into my theory on this, where you're just going to lean in with the home team.
My bad. Spread minus 8.5. Iowa.
Okay, so they think that they're close to a touchdown better than, or a little bit more. So I feel even better taking Iowa with that.
I don't know if I would take that spread.
I don't like that number. I don't like that number, but I like them to win outright. Yeah, that's a big number there on FanDuel. I do not like that. I would probably take Minnesota with that, or I would stay off of it. That's a little bit beefy, Schlegs. I don't like that big spread in a game where there might not be that much scoring. So I love that you just throw out your own questions. And then,
hey, did you know that the band was changing it up, Bob, with the team that came?
Yeah, so that's another thing we can get into with the Ohio State Buckeyes. And historically, the Sunday before the Michigan game, the band would always come over and play with the team, and they'd march. You'd get an instrument. One of my teammates, or one of my classmates from Lancaster, would play the trumpet, I believe. And I would always, march with him. We were the same age. And it was pretty cool that he was in the band, and I would do that with him. And they had Julian Sayin up there conducting everything. But I think they moved it to the bye week just because then you can give it its proper due, and you don't feel rushed and want to get out of there. And so some people may not like it, but it's still giving respect and honor to the band, and probably in a more timely and appropriate manner.
Yeah, I think it's great because sometimes with tradition on that last week, like to your point, Bob, it rushes things, and the more interaction you can have with the band and actually take and enjoy it and do Script Ohio and give it its due diligence, right, and experience, better in the bye week than trying to cram everything into that one particular one. Kind of like when you are playing middle school football, it's like, why didn't we give the little cheerleader girls their flowers like at the last home? Like, why do we have to do it on the last home game right before kickoff? Okay, like, can we not have done it like the week before or something, or at school or whatever? Like, it just keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't disagree. Last question, Schlegs. It came in. Oh goodness, where was it? From Mark Swick. Schlegs, do we have any O linemen who can bench from 400 to 500 pounds? I would say probably almost all of them. Like,
yeah, I would say probably almost all of them. And there's certain things that we have in there. It's like, 1.5, like, can you bench 1.5? And I forget the number. And the number is skewed predicated upon weight, position, or whatever. It's like there's no blanket. Like, okay, if you're an offense lineman, you got to squat twice your body weight. That is actually not the case. It's like 1.7 to 1.9.
Why wouldn't you want to squat 650, Schlegs?
But like at some point, strong is strong enough. And it's like, no. But it's like on the bench, yeah, I can unequivocally say, yes, we have a lot of dudes that can bench over 400 pounds on the offensive defensive line at Ohio State.
All right, well, we're long for a break, Schlegs. We're going to take our final break of the show, come back, some parting thoughts, and some side nuggets from one Anthony Schlegel on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Creative, experience, results. That's what drives growth. That's what builds brands. That's Lake Spur Marketing, a full-service agency built on trust, strategy, and performance, not fluff. From bold strategies to flawless execution, every campaign is rooted in smart planning and driven by clear goals. We don't chase clicks. We build partnerships. We show up, dig in, and deliver every single time. Lake Spur Marketing. The proof is in our partners.
All right, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. And there is one thing that I would like to talk about, like before we get to your little parting thought. This was pretty cool, and with the big conferences now, you don't get to play everywhere every time. We got to play. Well, I played twice in Camp Randall. Schlegs, you played there never.
Never played there. Coach there when I was at one where
it's a cool thing. One of the cooler traditions in all of college football is the jump around deal that they do. So that's pretty fun. And our guys got into a little bit, and it's even more fun when you're carrying in like a 4-score lead really into the fourth quarter. Their offense hasn't done anything, pitching a shutout. And so let's watch the Buckeyes getting into the action. Oh, there's going to do a nice there. Like the highlight, the height. There you go. Getting them rolling, getting them juiced up. Keep it juicy, Schlegs. Our guy, Juicy J. Every time I come out, I'm going to show out. What do we got for your parting thoughts and side nuggets?
Well, I mean, yeah, we're out. We got some time here, Bob. So the first one is this: throw up the best record through 20 games. Curt Cignetti, put that on there, and I just want to show the little something. Well, again, I mean, it takes some time. I put it in the group chat. But here's the thing. And it was like best record through 20 games. Urban Meyer, Ohio State, 12-13. And I will say this for all time. His best coaching job that he ever did was not 2014. It was 2012. You go 12-0 after going 6-7. Dude, that was the best coaching job he ever did.
The worst undefeated team in college football history.
Yeah, but you know what? Would have won a national championship if they could have playing Notre Dame that year. Anyways, next was Urban. Then Curt Cignetti, 18-2, Indiana, and what he's done is remarkable. And I say that to lead into the next one. Go ahead, play it. ASU coach, boom. Kenny Dillingham.
Our guy Kenny. You
Our guy
Kenny.
Nope, never did.
Why? You don't like South Park? Who killed
Kenny? I do like South Park. He always goes down. Here, you don't have to play it. Can you play it? All right, play it. I'll tell you when to cut.
You go from in the castle to in the outhouse overnight. I mean, there's not a transition period. You're just there. That's where you go. There's no middle ground in this thing. You're either a lead or you suck. There's no such thing as average or good. You're either great or you're horrible, right? And that's the world we live in. So to see our guys, we've talked all offseason about response to failure, not response to success. How are we going to respond to failure? How are we going to respond to failure? And to see our guys fail at such a high level and our team fail at such a high level and us respond at equally as high of a level, that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, go ahead. So I was just writing some little side nuggets on the side nugget here. And it goes back to this, and why I appreciate this is in the landscape that we are in college football with everybody's got to be great and all these things and coaches got to fire. And you saw it last year at Ohio State. You saw it at the beginning of this season with Alabama. You see it there in Arizona State, who went to the college football playoff quarterfinals last year, had a bye, won the Big 12. And it's building in that response to failure. And as a coach and even as a parent, what do we like to see? We like to see how our kids respond to adversity. And as a coach, to be able to bounce back the way that Arizona State did, he's super proud of that. But it also goes back into how are you putting that friction in the life of not only your children to be able to understand how to do hard things and how to respond to failure, but how do you build that in? And that's why I go back to even last week's practice, Bob, that you and I were at on that Tuesday. It's the competitiveness. It's the fact that you fail. And it was so many times I used to hear Urban say, like, you hate to lose. But how do you hate to lose if you're never in situations where you could lose? And that's why it's so paramount that you build in competitive excellence throughout the program so that all year you're learning how to deal with success and failure day in and day out. And those are the things when you think about like kids that are coming into college football now, what is the value prop? Like you're setting them up for life because life is hard. And then when you see those moments, you coach the crap out of that moment of what they did. That resonates. They will hang on to that for a long time, regardless if you're on a hot seat or not. Like that doesn't matter, man. What are you called to do when you're a coach? And that is to serve young people, and it was just great that he was able to articulate that the way that he did.
Absolutely, Schleich, and it's great that you've got your Meat Missile shirt out and ready to rock.
Hey, we're late October, baby. It's the great state of Ohio, man.
When's deer season start?
It's already been starting. It's already popping, you know.
Oh, okay.
Bucks are starting to cruise during daylight now.
Just drive around, shoot them out. What do you do, drive around and shoot them out of the window of your truck?
That's not, no.
You have Faith drive. You sit in the bed of the truck.
You drive.
Have you outfitted the bed of your truck like a fishing boat, and you have the swivel seat in there, and she just drives around, and you can just.
I'm sure you could do that on Real Truck. I'm sure they got the stuff. I know they got all the other deals.
Swivel seat for the bed.
You just take. Hey, Solutions for Institutions, just like a bass boat. You stick it in your fifth wheel hitch, and you're just back there. Boom. Hey, drive around. Go slow. They're used to the diesel truck.
Have a bunch of bows set up just like you would have different reels for trolling.
As you're just dumping out corn, like you have like a little.
That's
corn
it
thing
for us
corn
today. We appreciate it. We'll catch up with you again
terrible.
here on the Bobby Carpenter Show.